Pick up your gear and open your chests. Throw on your armor and head out on a quest. Hey, hey, it's a brand new day. On the Sword Coast, your allies will help with blazing bows and magic as well. Hey, hey, heroes on their way. Fighting forever against overwhelming odds. Fighting together in favor of multiple gods. Idle champions of the forgotten realms. Idle champions, adventure never ends. Idle champions, did you wanna bend? Idle champions, you will say it again. Idle champions. From Waterdeep to Icewind Dale, head out the Shelf or Shadowfell. Hey, hey, together we stay. Walk to the monsters, walk to the boss, walk to the right, it's never a loss. Hey, hey, bad guys to slay. Fighting forever against overwhelming odds. Fighting together in favor of multiple gods. Idle champions of the forgotten realms. Idle champions, adventure never ends. Idle champions, did you wanna dance? Idle champions, you will say it again. Idle champions.
Hello, everybody. We are back. I am Gaarawarr. And this is Gaarawarr's Guide, the tutorial show. I was trying to wake myself up there. Whew. It's been a long week, folks. It is finally the weekend, though. You're watching this live, I guess. Or you're watching this on a weekend. I guess that also counts. Joining me today in the mod pod is Sasha. Sasha's going to be grabbing your questions from chat. Keep an eye on things. Please make sure, like it says down there in the white box on the screen, and that the bot usually tells you in chat as well, put question colon in front of your questions. It makes it easier to understand that you're asking a question for me to answer, and that you're not just asking a question out of chat. Right? Yeah. Because the way this show works is I talk about a topic for the first however many minutes, first, usually roughly half of the show, and then the second half I go into all the questions. That way, if people just want to watch the tutorial part and not the Q&A, they can. They get a shorter show, because people are like 2 hours on one top. Well, that's not how it works, and I can tell that you didn't even listen to the start of the show. Come on. Also, this game is deeper than you might think. This game doesn't lend itself well to 90-second bursts of information, or Anyway, today's topic is the 2024 Champions Part 4. What does that even mean? Some of you are brand new. They're like, what? Every 3 months or so, we stop and take a quick look back at the featured champions from the prior 3 months. And so now I know it's February 1st, but look, we were busy doing stuff. So the first 3 months are, this is the first chance we've had to talk about the last 3 months of 2024. So we're going to cover Cass, Voronika, Minthara, Nox, Halsin, and Stokey. 3 of which were brand new champions, and 3 of which were reworked champions. Oh, I already see some questions coming in, and I was like, oh, I forgot to prep that. Hold on. One. There we go. So, got those ready for later. All right. So yeah, we're going to cover these. Yeah. and whatever. And then, the questions don't have to be about these 6 champions. You can ask questions about game systems, other champions, upcoming champions and events. Grand Revel coming in 4 days. The brand new champion and a rework. We'll talk about whatever once we get to the second half. So let's dive. Hey, look, I'm live. Would hope so. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, beard's still there. That's gonna be a horrible day. When the beard one isn't there. Let's dive in by bench seat, folks. Now you'll notice I only have 4 champions, and I was talking about 6, and you're like, where are the other 2 Gaarawarr? Well, they're in the same seats. So Halsin is a seat swap with Minthara for lore reasons. Cass is a seat swap with Sergeant Nox just because that's how it ended up over time. Let's talk about Voronika. Yes, that is how you pronounce her name. It is not Veronica. All right. Female Eladrin, that is a subspecies of elf. Druid, chaotic evil support. She joins us from the Black Dice Society. That is a complete affiliation. As far as we know, there isn't anybody else that's going to be sneaking in from there. Yeah. Her base attack is Produce Flame. Just fires at a random enemy. It's just real straightforward. Voronika has a passive effect. Anytime you see one of these level 0s, that means a passive effect. Wed then Undead. So basically, after being killed on her wedding night, she became a ghost. She continues to attack. It can be attacked like normal. Did they change this? Basically, she counts as undead, and it doesn't say that anywhere now. Did they change that? She counts as undead, folks. So for the purposes of other champions, like from her own society, Desmond, who gives buffs based off the number of dead champions, that doesn't have to mean champions that got railroaded like by the enemies. There are actual champions in this game that count as dead, and that's what it's referring to. All right, Puppet Master. Voronika claims the Bud setting champion as her puppet. So whoever your primary DPS is her puppet. The damage of her chosen puppet is increased, so she buffs them. And she only changes the puppet if a different champion is the Bud setting champion for more than 30 seconds in a row. So it isn't that you just throw a different champion in there. You got to give them time to show that they are a significant addition to the party. The puppet also gains the Black Dice Society affiliation. This is important because some champions will have bonuses only for certain affiliation members. So adding someone to an affiliation is nice. Some people's abilities also count the number of affiliation members, and thus that's going to change the count as well. So keep that in mind. Calculating guidance. Voronika increases the damage of all champions in one column in front of her. So she's going to buff directly in front of her. Column directly in front of her. So that's important for formation placement queue, right? Her key allies are members of the Black Dice Society. So they're calling out a term here. Key allies. So this is important, right? The effect of this ability is increased by 100% for each key ally in the formation. So there you go. She's going to increase her buff based off the number of Black Dice Society people in the formation. Now remember, she's there, she's 1, and her puppet will always be 1, right? So there's always going to be at least 2. So you're always going to get at least, 2 stacks. It stacks additively until Voronika completes her search for the crown, when it changes to stack multiplicatively. Multiplicatively is the good way. So, and you always want, when you're doing multiplicatively, you always want at least 2 stacks, and this ability gives itself at least 2 stacks. You want as many as possible, usually. So search for the crown. We're going to talk about that next, because this is the core to Voronika. You have to do this search for the crown. You have to do it every time if you want her to be strong. As you can already see, it changes one ability from additively to multiplicatively. Well, additively is just kind of like, yeah, that's a little extra damage, but multiplicative is like, oh, right, like 100% additively twice, 200%. Nobody cares, right? But when you get multiplicatively 100% twice, that's, we switch that to a number, that's 2x, times 2x, that's 4x, so it's 300%. Now I know that's not a whole lot bigger than 200%, but then if you add a third, it becomes 700% instead of the 300% it would have been additively. And it keeps scaling that way. This is why we want as many multiplicatively stacking things as possible. It just climbs up. It just keeps climbing upstairs instead of like slowly increasing with additive, right? We want that. So search for the crown. Voronika, search for the crown of the Raven Queen. Requires her to complete 3 goals. When Voronika completes all 3 goals, she acquires the crown, transforms into her Dark Lord form, unlocks her ultimate attack, so that's the only way we get to see her ultimate, and improves her base attack, which, was kind of lame. Shouldn't say that. It was kind of weak. Put it at that. That's a better term. But it doesn't tell us what the search for the crown is, folks. They bury that information over here. You got to come over to formation buffs and then scroll down and find search for the crown. The goals are reach level 750. That means her level. So upgrade her to 750. Use 50 ultimate attacks with other champions. And then something that's locked. Great. Why is it locked? Well, it's locked because we haven't upgraded her enough yet. So spec choices. Let's talk about our spec choices real quick. Embrace evil, hunt the favored, weaken the fools. So for the third search for the crown goal, we're picking from one of these spec choices. For the first one, calculating guidance's key allies must defeat 2,500 enemies. Okay. And key allies will then also include not just Black Dice Society members, but champions who are evil. So we're widening the pool of key allies. That's good, right? Changing that is great. So we can already tell that we're going to want to pick one of these based kind of off the formation we're building, right? Over here, you must defeat 500 enemies. Wow, that's 5 times fewer. But that are favored foes of any champion in the formation. Well, she doesn't have favored foes, so that means you would be building around a favored foe formation, at least for this part, right? And then key allies now include champions who have a favored foe. A lot of the heroes of Baldur's Gate have favored foes. It's not restricted to just them, but that is one of their things. Is the favored foe mechanics. A bunch of them have it. Weaken the fools. This is you have to kill, or you must apply 1,750 debuffs. Enemies don't have to die, but presumably they would be if you're doing this right off the bat. And then key allies are now anyone who has the debuff roll. Okay. I'm just going to tell you right now, if you're trying to complete the search for the crown real quick, you choose favored foes and you throw in like Minsk. You've got Minsk, right? Choose favored foes like Minsk or other favored foes. You stack them, you kill your 500, and then you change her specialization. Either through a potion that does that, or by swapping her into a background party and then bringing her back into your active party. And then putting her in whichever one of these is the one that you're building your formation around. Okay, we're going to choose evil. Because, I ain't going through all that. I ain't doing all that. Come on. So that's going to be the third thing that the search for the crown wants. Okay. So defeat the enemies, fire off a bunch of ultimate attacks. Okay. It's always the same every time, but except with that spec choice, you're choosing the spec choice. But the other two are the same, and then, whatever you want to do with the spec choice. Now the ability that I generally recommend people just ignore. But if you're really trying to optimize your run, like your push, like you're doing a very difficult variant, and you need every little bit of power to potentially try to beat it, then you need to know how this ability works and how to maximize it. Otherwise, just ignore it. Speed run. It is not a speed effect. It has nothing to do with it. The effect of Puppet Master is increased by an amount. For me, it's EO5. But this value multiplicatively decreases by 10% 5 minutes after the adventure starts, and decreases by another 10 minutes for every minute after that, but doesn't decrease after Voronika has completed her search for the crown. So they named it speedrun because that's what you have to do if you want it. You got to put in a lot of work immediately. Like the moment you hit the run, you've got to be able to level up Voronika all the way to her spec choice and build a formation around her that's going to get her search for the crown done immediately, like ASAP, because otherwise you're losing strength off this buff. And the longer it takes, the worse. And to be very clear, this means you have to have Voronika in at the start of your run. If later in a run you decide, you know what, Voronika would be good here, and you swap her in, all this time is already ticked off, because it isn't 5 minutes after Voronika gets put in the formation. It's 5 minutes after the adventure starts. I hope you're understanding why I tell people, just generally speaking, ignore this. And only if you absolutely need that power, you think you're going to need it at the end of your run, should you bother. And then it's set up that favored foe run. You got to have a lot of favor. You know, this isn't good for new players. You got to do it as quickly as possible. Yeah. You want to try to find a champion. You want to add champions in who have ultimates with, you know, super low ultimate timers so that you can get those 50 done real quick. It's a lot, right? You have to have a plan if you're trying to max that out. So generally speaking, move on. She has other power. In fact, its ultimate power, Voronika increases the effect of calculating guidance by 0.1%, which isn't a whole lot, for each use of an ultimate while she's in the formation, stacking multiplicatively. Okay, the stacking multiplicatively helps. I know it's 0.1%. Going to take a while to get a decent number out of it, but it caps it 100,000 stacks, and those stacks persist until the adventure's done. There's a lot of power here. There's a lot more power here than you might expect. It takes a long time for you to start realizing it, but if you can max this out, this is where her power is, not here. Here. Okay. All right. Second spec choices, because why not? Battle magic, powerful focus, and strike first, strike hard. These all modify your puppet a little bit, which is great. So she can adjust your puppet to a situation. So battle magic, she casts the puppet casts an explosive magic missile at a random target after each attack. Deals 1,000% of their normal damage to all enemies in a small area. So, the puppet's already doing whatever they do with their base attack, and then they get a small AoE burst added too. Fantastic. So if you're running a single target puppet, now you get wave clear. You get AoE wave clear. You also get a second attack, so you go from being a single attacker to a multi-attacker. It is only 2, but hey, if you're trying to chew through armor, you know, any kind of segmented health, yeah, okay. So that one's great. I'll be honest, I default to that one a lot, because I like the functionality. Powerful focus, all of their incoming positional damage effects are increased by 75%, and their basic attack now knocks back any enemies it hits a short distance. So they get a knockback, and also, if you're running a formation that is heavy on positional effects, positional buffs, additional formation abilities is what they're called, PFAs. It's going to boost them all of those by 75%. That adds up. That adds up. If you have a lot. Strike first, strike hard. That one, it's going to make the puppet attack 1 second faster and increase their damage by 150% for each champion adjacent to them, stacking multiplicatively. Again, multiplicatively stacking is the good way. This is one's very formation layout dependent. So if you're in a formation that has that surrounds a puppet by like 6, okay, that's some decent damage, right? And they get to attack faster. Attacking faster doesn't mean more damage, but it can mean chewing through armor quicker, chewing through segmented health quicker, clearing out a bunch of enemies faster, right? These can be important things. So choose that one based off what's going on in your situation. I like those. I like specialization choices that change functionality, right? To suit a situation. And that's what you're getting there. All right. We will have to come back to Voronika to talk about our ultimate later if we get there. It will get there at some point during the show. And then yeah. Items. So we have, oh hey folks, did you know Did you notice that all of this changed? Like, it's brighter colored now, and there's a big thing here. You can now see your item levels on every item, and there's like they're trying to tie this number with this number. That's why they underlined it to let you know that power is changes with item levels. Gotcha. Itemization, folks. Damage all champions. We have a Puppet Master item, a Calculating Guidance, Ultimate Power, Speed Run, and then Ultimate Attack. None of these are pre-stacked, so none of these are mathematically overpowered abilities. Feats, damage all champions. Hey, here's a functionality change. I like these. Changes Calculating Guidance to target the next 2 columns. So instead of just buffing 1 column in front, it buffs 2. This can be fantastic. This adds elves to the Calculating Guidance's key allies. So even if they're not evil and they're not Black Dice Society, if you got a lot of elves in your formation, you can add more calculating allies with or Calculating Guidance key allies with this. You know, situational, but nice, because that's multiplicatively stacking. Puppet Master, Calculating Guidance. We've got Speed Run. Oh, this is okay. Calculated movement. So if you thought Speed Run wasn't restrictive enough, you can increase the effect of it by 900%, but you increase the reduction amount to 20% every 5 minutes, and the effect amount starts reducing at 1 minute instead of 5 minutes. So if you are the type of person who loves that, and you're like, I'm the speedrun person, I've got this down, I go so fast, you can slot this and get an even bigger reward. Sure, whatever. Ultimate power, again, this is big. Like that one, that's where the power lies. We've got spec choices, so those changing functionality spec choices. You've also got like intelligence by 1. This just allows her to qualify for patron Strahd on her own. So there is another champion in the Black Dice Society that can bring everyone into Strahd, but sometimes you just want Forenica. That's how you do it. All right, let's talk about Minthara. Hey, look, it's another evil champion. Female drow elf, another subspecies of elves. Paladin, a tanking, support, and debuff champion. She is neutral evil. 25 overwhelm. This is a tanking stat. Basically, the number of enemies that they can tank without taking extra damage. Like lots of extra damage. If you get overwhelmed, you start taking extra damage for every enemy attacking. And you fall over real quick. Absolute adversaries. Is this a full format affiliation? I don't know. They did the origin characters and then they added in Minthara and Halsin, so it's like who knows who else we might get from there. I don't know. We haven't heard of any rumblings of new ones, but yeah. So there's a lot here. This is a unique affiliation, and well, it's not. It is a rare affiliation in the sense that, because it isn't unique, the Heroes of Baldur's Gate are like this as well. They're not all designed to work together. The idea is you figure out which of their damage dealers you want to build your formation around, and then you find the other champions in the affiliation that are going to actually benefit them. Some aren't. It's important to know the difference. Okay, basic attack, double maces, double mace to the face. Dashes towards the healthiest enemy and damages nearby foes with a swing of her maces. So, an AoE. So it does an AoE. Fighter's Lyre is the ultimate. Minthara summons Karnis the Drider to attack all enemies. Here they go. In a non-boss area, the champions advance to the next area if Karnis defeats at least one enemy and no enemies remain after the attack. I don't think that part works. But I'm honestly not sure. Because if it runs out on the screen and I'm killing things with familiars, then there isn't anything for it to kill. It's hit or miss, folks. Hit or miss on that ultimate for the speed effect. Just so you know. I don't want anybody going, it never works for me. I know, like, it never works for me either, so. Alright, abilities. Noble of Minzo Baranzan. Minthara gains a strife stack for each evil champion in the formation, including herself. Minthara increases the damage of these champions by 100% for each strife stack, stacking multiplicatively. So Minthara wants to be in evil formations. Completely evil. Because stacking multiplicatively, which is the good way, right? So she wants 10 evil people, really. If you can make that happen, she's very happy. Okay. Soul branding. When Minthara damages an enemy, they take a lot of additional damage from all subsequent attacks, stacking multiplicatively up to the number of strife stacks Minthara has. This is the one, folks. This is the biggie. Well, a biggie. This is a debuff, and it's a multiplicatively stacking debuff based off the number of evil champions in the formation. Yet another reason you want 10 evil champions. Because it's taking, this value is not a small number. And when it's not a small number like this means it's been modified by other stuff. In this case, gear. This means it is a pre-stack ability. So basically, when you add the gear, it's what I call mathematically overpowered. Understand? When you add the power from the item, the itemization and feats apply their boost to the pre-stack value. So normally this would have started at like 100% or something. Well, with itemization and feats, it's now up to 2900%. And this is the number that gets multiplied against itself instead of the 100% over here. With all the bonuses, because this has an item too, all the bonuses here apply post-stack. Okay. This is a super strong ability. All right. Oath of Vengeance. Minthara provides benefits based on the number of strife stacks she has. So again, you want a lot, right? At 3 or more, and these stack up. You get all of the subsequent as you go higher. So at 3 or more, she gets an ability effect called Unyielding. Minthara increases her health by 10% for each strife stack she has. A little bit tankier. That one's not huge. That's why it's only at 3. 5+ stacks. Piercing. Enemies affected by at least 2 soul branding stacks lose an additional armor or segmented health piece when they're attacked. I hate that they call it segmented health piece. Armor is segmented health. They should just say it loses a segmented health piece. So basically 2 chunks off of a hit-based or armored enemy. All right. So yeah, Armor Shredder at 5 or more. That's fantastic functionality. At 7 or more, this is the key. You really want 7 or more. At minimum, for Minthara to really come online, 7 or more stacks. Scarring. When Minthara damages an enemy, she immediately applies the maximum possible number of soul branding stacks. Remember, soul branding is the multiplicatively stacking one that pre-stacks. And normally it applies every time she hits them. Which if you're at 10 stacks, if you can get up to 10, that means she has to hit a single enemy 10 times. That's fine against a boss, but could take forever against, all the trash mobs, right? Well, with Scarring, it's instant. The first time she hits them, max stacks. Yes, please. This is fantastic. At 9+, this increases the base value of Noble of Menzo Barons on by 720%. The important thing here, this increases the base value. Now remember, this is a multiplicatively stacking ability, and normally its stuff applies to the post stack. Well, if that's going to affect the base value, that means the 100% is being affected by that and boosting, and then it's becoming a much stronger ability, much stronger ability, right? So it effectively that having 9 or more stacks gives this some pre-stack functionality, making it much stronger, much more rewarding for hitting 9. So 7 is the key to really bring her online. 9 is huge. Okay. All right, Ceramorphosis. Your formation gains 1 Ceramorphosis stack due to the Mind Flayer, Tadpole, and Minthara's Brain. This is an absolute adversaries affiliation thing. Minthara increases the health of all other champions by 20% of her max health, plus 2% for each Ceramorphosis stack the formation has, stacking additively. So she has one of the weaker Ceramorphosis abilities. Normally these are pre-stack. Normally these are mathematically OP abilities. Not for Minthara, not for Harlock. Yeah. Both of them have this tanking thing, and it doesn't even make them healthier. It doesn't even make them tank better. It just makes everybody else more survivable, which is kind of problematic, right? If this had boosted their own health, I'd be super happy about it. It'd be on par with the other absolute adversaries. It would make them tankier, and because health share already exists, like this was just sharing 20% health, and then they get more health, and they get a bunch more health for every Ceramorphosis stack. Great. Not how it works. So just know this isn't, you don't necessarily build around this with Minthara. You build around evil with Minthara. Okay. To boost Minthara, right? Alright, spec choices. House Matron, True Soul, or Soul Destroyer. You probably know where I'm going already just by the names, but let's do this in order. House Matron, Noble of Menzo Baronzon, also grants strife stacks for neutral champions in the formation. So if you can't build a truly evil formation, and you need to use someone who's neutral, so it doesn't say good, it either says neutral or evil on that side, on the right-hand side of their alignment. You can add that. You can add more stacks this way. You're giving up other bonuses here, but you could add more stacks that way. You can. And sometimes you might if you're really restricted, right? True Soul means your formation gains 2 additional Ceramorphosis stacks. In the right situation, this is huge. Right? Now, just for her, it isn't. Because, again, she just boosts her health, or health share, right? But there are Absolute Adversaries members who would absolutely love 2 more additional Ceramorphosis stacks if you are in an Absolute Adversaries heavy formation. Especially if an Absolute Adversary with a big boost from Ceramorphosis is your DPS, this is the way to go, right? Soul Destroyer, though, the maximum number of soul branding stacks is doubled. Yes, please. Remember, Soul Destroyer is the OP ability. Soul branding is the OP ability. And the more stacks it has, the better. Right? I'm already saying, hey, you want 10 stacks because 10 stacks of soul branding is huge. But with that spec choice, you're doubling to 20 stacks, folks. 20 stacks. Let me just... I'm at 20... Well, I want to do this at a base value. So if it was 100... If it was 100%, and you're just looking at that, that's... So that's a double... and at 10 stacks, you're looking at 1,024 times more damage. So 102,300% of a boost. Right? If it was at 100%. I have itemization and stuff that's boosting it. Okay, but already, like 10 stacks at 102,300% is way better than 100%, right? 10 stacks is a big deal. 20 stacks, though... that takes us up to, I gotta do this right, 104,857,500% more damage. That's a lot. That's a big increase. Which means those 2 tadpoles, you really have to be have a lot of solid Absolute Adversaries members for that 2 tadpole True Soul spec to work. Because doubling stacks on a multiplicatively stacking ability, so big, so big. So I tend to just default to Soul Destroyer because I like destroying people's souls. Itemization, a pair of damage all champions items. We get a health item. You get that Noble and Menzo Baronzon, but post-stack. You get soul branding, pre-stack. And then you can reduce the cooldown on the ultimate. Under feats, damage all champions, health, overwhelm feats. You get Noble and Menzo Baronzon, and you get effective soul branding. This is the big one, because it's pre-stack. And then increase the bonus of the nobility component of Minthara's Oath of Vengeance ability by 80%. That's this. That's why I'm at 720% on 9+ stacks. Like, that's huge. This is huge. Nightworn's Oath. If you can get 9 or more stacks, this is huge. Because normally it isn't 720%. But again, that's a pre-stack multiplier, so you want that. Okay. All right, let's talk about Stokey. Let's get stoked about Stokey. I can't get stoked about Stokey, unfortunately, folks. She just got a rework, but it wasn't... She's a little better. But we are all petitioning CNE to really take a look at her because she is probably the most underwhelming rework we've had in the Events 2.0 era. And Stokey, as the very first event champion in the game ever, deserved better than that. Deserve better than that. Female no monk, lawful neutral, support and gold find, unaffiliated. Flurry of blows is the basic attack. She leaps out and attacks random enemies with her fist. Quivering palm is the ultimate. She leaps out and attacks 5 random enemies with extremely powerful palm thrusts. Over the next 10 seconds, all of the enemies she hit take damage over time equal to 4 times the initial amount of damage. Okay, so a bud-based dot, which is great. That's fantastic for things like hit-based enemies and armored enemies. Yeah. Okay, so good ultimate functionality for that. Focus Strike is the main ability. When she attacks, she gains a focus point for each enemy she hits. She increases the damage of all champions with a base attack cooldown of 4 seconds or faster by 10% for each focus point she has, stacking multiplicatively. So she boosts the damage of fast attacking champions. Now, it does say base attack cooldown, but this is a base attack cooldown. It can be modified. So it doesn't mean that, like Minsk's base attack is 4.5 seconds. Well, he doesn't qualify. Well, no, he could. If you put him in and there are attack speed modifiers that bring him down below 4 seconds, he then qualifies for Stokey's Focus Strike. Okay. So yeah, and boost it multiplicatively. Well, we always like that, right? Focus points cap at 100 and are reduced by 50% when changing areas. So this stacks up in an area so that it doesn't do much when you're starting out, but as you get towards the end of your run and you start to get towards a wall and enemies are building up, it builds up in relation to the enemies to help you defeat them. Okay. Golden Palm. Enemies that have been attacked by Stokey at any point in the current area drop 100% more gold when killed for each focus point stack she has, stacking additively. So, yeah. So focus points are rewarding with more gold when you kill things. Okay. Building focus. Stokey keeps track of the total focus points she has gained in the current adventure. So just this run. This is an in-run ramping ability. Stokey's focus points are capped for a given area. She still counts new ones towards this ability. Okay. So you can sit on an area and farm this. Upon reaching certain milestones, the following effects activate. Now remember, once you've reached this milestone, it stays for the adventure, but when you reset the adventure, it starts over. At 100 focus points, she gets encouragement. Champions adjacent to Stokey have their base attack cooldowns lowered by 0.5 second. That alone would help Minsk qualify for her buff, right? At 1,000 focus points, you get Flurry of Blows. For every... well, she already has that, but you get it again. For every 1,000 levels Stokey has, she attacks an additional target with each attack. Now, 1,000 levels means 1,000 of these levels, of her levels. So, upgrading her every 1,000 levels gets her another attack. That's real nice. Obviously, it's dependent on your favor in a formation, right? Your ability to level up. But yeah, more attacks, right? Because remember, she attacks multiple enemies, random enemies with her fists. She gains focus points on each attack. Everything she hits drops more gold, right? It just ramps her up faster when you get here. So she attacks an additional target with each attack. She prefers to attack different targets, but will attack the same target multiple times if she's already attacked everyone. Okay. But she is built to spread out her attacks and get that gold find on everyone, is what this is telling you. At 5,000 focus points, she gets leadership. Champions adjacent to her have a small chance to reset their base attack cooldown after attacking for each focus point she currently has, and it caps at 90%. So the more focus points you have in any given area, the more of a chance everyone's attacking, getting free extra attack. This is another one of those things that's super helpful as you start dealing with, A, massive groups of enemy and you need wave clear, or B, you're sitting against an armored person and you're ramping up, and once you get the damage, you just want to chew through them like a chainsaw, right? At 12,500 focus points, you get Overflow. When Stokey attacks an enemy that she's already attacked, so you're getting real deep in, or you're against a boss, there's a 20% chance the enemy will be stunned for 3 seconds, so she gets crowd control. As things start getting harder, she gets crowd control. At 25,000 focus points. Explosion. If Stokey hits the same enemy 2 or more times with the same base attack, power radiates from the enemy, dealing 5 seconds worth of bud damage to itself and all other nearby enemies, and it triggers with every extra hit. This is glorious. Now, remember back when I said Stokey didn't get the greatest rework? Getting to 25,000 focus points is not realistic. I built a formation specifically around trying to get Stokey to 25,000 focus points as quickly as possible. I barely broke like 10,000. I was getting close to overflow, and I was at the end of an adventure, and I had been trying, built that adventure to try to get her here as quickly as possible. It's not realistic. It's one of those, it's not realistic in a short period of time. It's one of those where if you want to get to this point, you just have to run 10x speed potions and sit on a level and farm focus points. It's only for if you need this kind of, this is huge. Explosion is huge against armored enemies. Basically, it basically means every one of her attacks can remove a chunk alongside the primary DPS as long as they're able to remove a chunk. That's the big deal, but it isn't even realistically easy to get. So this is another one of those, like with Voronika. If you're going to be sitting a long time stacking up Voronika, like this is the same kind of thing. If you throw Stokey in and you want this kind of power, it takes a long time to get there. Takes a long time to get there. It's not easy, folks. And it is not normal. It is not a normal deep run. I went on a deep run. Folks, I can go to area 2500. Nah. Nope. Not really. No. Alright, Frenzied Friends. Stokey additively increases the focus points cap of Focus Strike, so she can give herself more points for stacking abilities, by 10 for each champion in the formation whose base attack cooldown is 4 seconds or lower. So the more people who meet that qualification of her buff, the more you can raise your focus points cap. This would be great if any of her focus point abilities stacked multiplicatively. This is why she's got an okay rework, but it's not really great. None of her stuff stacks multiplicatively, and that's leaves her weaker. All right, spec choices. All Out Assault. Bend It Like Birdsong. Love it. A little bit faster now. All right, All Out Assault. Stokey tracks the number of attacks her allies have performed in the past 10 seconds and increases the effect of Focus Strike by 15% for each one, stacking multiplicatively. A little bit of a multiplicatively stacking thing. A little bit. It is 10 seconds, which is short. I've built around this. It's interesting. It's interesting. Bend It Like Birdsong. Stokey counts the number of champions, but it's not amazing. Stokey counts the number of champions in the formation with a dex score of 16 or higher. So if you're building a high dex formation, for each such champion, her base attack cooldown is decreased by 0.1 seconds, stacking additively, and the effect of Focus Strike is increased by 100%, stacking multiplicatively. This is very difficult to build around. Very difficult. And the reward isn't super huge. I'll be honest. It's okay. It's a multiplicatively stacking effect, but there's no pre-stack multiplier, so it's okay. These two are okay. A little bit faster now. Stokey reduces the base attack cooldown of all champions with a default base attack cooldown of 6 seconds or higher. So real slow attackers down to 4 seconds, so they qualify for her Frenzy Friends. Their damage is increased by 100% for each 0.1 seconds. Their base attack cooldown is reduced by this ability, and it stacks multiplicatively. This has the highest potential, but it only works. Like, there's like one super slow attacking DPS in the game. We'll go up here. Base attack cooldown. We're gonna go up to above 6, 7. Where is it at? Yeah, like Lae'zel. So Lae'zel has a slow base attack. You can use it with Lae'zel, and it's actually a really big buff. But but it's not enough to make up for the fact that you're using Lae'zel, and she's not like the strongest DPS. It doesn't make up for that lack of strength, right? That's what I'm saying. There is the potential where you might use it on a support champion with a super slow attack. I have not tested that. The devs seem to think, well, but so these aren't amazing, but they're like, these are neat. They're neat. Just know I don't know that there's one here where I'm like, oh my god, this is great, and there aren't also any like. We're affected by mediocrity in Stokey's head. There's a lot of mediocrity. It's better than it used to be, but that's, I don't know. That was a pretty low bar to get over. All right. Items. Pair damage all champions. We have Golden Palm. That's the gold find item, so you can raise the amount of gold you're getting. Focus Strike, spec choices, and ultimate attack cooldown. Feat wise, we come right in with, this goes out of order. Lightning Palm. This increases the attack cooldown reduction of Stokey's building focus to 1 second. So, yeah. So, more attack speed cooldown. There's a Charisma. I don't know why these are out of order. Charisma +2 is going to, a little overkill, but that's going to qualify her for Zerial. Damage of all champions. We've got some gold find. We've got Focus Strike. We got more gold find through Golden Palm. These are there's a 50 and a 40 here. Those paired are the bigger ones, right? Spec choices. Oh, there's a new. Oh, it's in the pack. Okay. The spec choices. This is a new one, and now you can't just buy it with gems for 90 days. They've added exclusivity to the feats that come in packs. Maintain focus. Stokey's focus points are only reduced by 20% when changing areas. And this is nice when you're on your way up, but then it's once you get if you're just racing through stuff you have the damage for, that's nice. Otherwise, it's not going to help you at the end of the run. All right, let's talk about Cass. Cass was a new champion out of the game. Male human fighter, neutral evil, DPS and healing role, which is an interesting combination, right? We usually have like DPS support. There's no support here. That means there's no support buffage. There's just healing. We had DPS tanks. But yeah, now we have a DPS healer. The main attack is Vengeful Swing. Cass attacks the closest enemy and other nearby enemies with a sweep of his sword. So it is an AoE. They have a passive as well. Vampire Lord. If you couldn't tell by the teeth, they're a vampire. Cass is undead and counts as dead for the purpose of effects that care about dead champions, but alive for all other purposes. So, like, are they alive in your formation? Yes, but they are a dead champion. By his abilities, Cass may cause one or more other champions in the formation to become his vampire spawns. And once they're his vampire spawns, they're also undead. So Cass can create undead. Create undead in a formation. Okay. Born into Evil. Cass increases his damage by 100% for each evil champion in the formation, stacking multiplicatively. We just talked about this with Mithara. Obviously, this is another champion that wants to be in a full evil formation. Hey, throw him in with Mithara. Why not? Mortal Pawns. This is important. This is important for Cass. It's important to understanding Cass's strength. Every time an area is completed, which already tells us you want Cass in on area 1 and let them ramp through an adventure. So they are not someone that you can just add in at the end of a run to see how well they do. They need to be in on area 1. And they need to be leveled up to this ability right away. Every time an area is completed, Cass gains pawn stacks equal to the number of champions in the formation that are not one of his vampire spawns. Okay. Each pawn stack increases the effect of Born into Evil by 0.5%, stacking multiplicatively. So a multiplicatively stacking ability that ramps up during the adventure without any cap, but it's based off areas, right? So functional cap 2,500. Because the highest you can get is You can get to area 2501, but that means you can complete 2500 areas. So 2500 areas times 10 champions, so 25,000 stacks. Right? Because the number of areas, you just 2500. Now that's if everybody stays alive the entire time, or if everybody does, if no one is one of his vampire spawns. So that is not a realistic number, because at some point you're going to want them to become vampire spawns. Usually, we'll see, or you just have too much of power. Life drain: when an undead champion in the formation attacks, they regain hit points. So the healing effect is only for undead. Who's undead in this formation? Cass. Cass can heal himself. Also Voronika in the back heals. Okay. So any undead champion in the formation. So they like to be in a formation with undead champions. But remember, they can make their own. So at a certain point, everyone in the formation could be undead and healing themselves. Right? When do we want to get to that point? We're going to talk about it because it's a function of their vampire spawns. And we already know we want to go as far as possible without any. Okay. Spawn of Cass. When a champion that is not already undead dies, they immediately resurrect at full health as a vampire spawn, counting as undead for the rest of the adventure. There's how we create them. Okay. So this means that for mortal pawns, you want to go as far as possible without anyone dying in the formation. Because once they die, they become a vampire spawn. And they stop counting towards this multiplicatively stacking boost. Okay. Now, once they become a vampire spawn, the effect of Born into Evil is increased by an amount that's large. It's affected by itemization. For each undead champion in the formation, stacking multiplicatively. Okay. So at some point, if you go as far as you can, at some point, you do want everybody to die, because then it stacks multiplicatively with a bonus. But you want everybody to go as far as possible without dying first. Okay. Now remember, when they die, basically the first people that are going to die are your tanks. Tank or your tanks, right? That means they're going to become undead and they're going to heal themselves when they attack. So Cass's healing effect basically creates some self-sufficiency, some, healing for the front line. But remember, healing in this game is rough, and tanks aren't. Yeah, I mean, look, the amount of healing that's coming off of this is not real big. So it's okay. All right. Spec choices: Cass the Bloody-Handed, Cass the Betrayer, or Cass the Destroyer. Basically, there have been different versions of Cass throughout the D&D history, in the different editions, and so you're going to get to spec into these, and they're going to focus you a little different. So Bloody-Handed increases the effect of life drain by a lot, and evil champions attack faster, half a second, base attack cooldown reduction. So if for whatever reason you think healing and attack speed is the way to go, Bloody-Handed. Betrayer, damage against boss enemies is increased by an amount, and the effect of Born into Evil is increased by 100% for each undead champion in the formation. Okay. Well, we already know there's the potential to have everybody undead, and bosses are your biggest problem. So, generally speaking, Cass the Betrayer sounds good. Good general overall spec choice to choose. Cass the Destroyer. This increases the effect of Born into Evil by that same amount. It's the same number. It's affected by items. Champions adjacent to Cass gain the evil tag. So, if for some reason you were putting in champions who weren't evil, because they're your biggest buffers and you want them in the formation, Cass will turn them evil if you place them adjacent to them in this spec only. It doesn't affect their other alignment tags and doesn't affect whether they're eligible for the adventure, right? Because they have to be eligible for the adventure to put them in and get them adjacent to him, right? So this is the big one. This is survivability, and this is if you want to give up all of this, any of this stuff over here, just to use some champions that aren't evil. which you might have to in a variant, right? You might have to. All right, where are we at? Ultimate. Talking about the ultimate, yes. Rise, Fallen Soldier. I bet you can understand what's going on there. Cast summons 2 specters that move towards enemies, dealing ultimate damage every second for 15 seconds. So 2 sources of bud-based damage that pulse damage every second for 15 seconds. Yeah, that's great for what we just saw there. Armored enemies, hit-based enemies, it's just going to chew away at their segments and let you progress faster. Fantastic. Itemization is good, because it starts right away with abilities. Born into Evil, Mortal Pawns, Life Drain, Spawn of Cast, Spec Choices, and Ultimate Cooldown. It's all good. It's all good. Self-damage items. We get one that's self-damage, and his base attack cooldown is reset at the start of every area. Okay, sure. I just want the 400% extra damage, right? Stake into the Heart, another 400% extra damage. These are must-haves and must-uses if you're a cast main. Just 400%. Come on. Cast attacks prevent the target from healing for 10 seconds. This is a great functionality. Born into Evil, Mortal Pawns, Life Drain, Spawn of Kaz. You got the spec choices, and then there's another 120% one that's... I think this one's in the Thayan Enclave. Whenever they have nothing here, it means it was a Thayan Enclave feat. It may still be there, which in this case it is, or it may be waiting out of the Thayan Enclave and waiting for it to come in for gems. Right? All right, we have 2 more champions left to cover, folks. We're already halfway through the show. All right, well, we're going to do our best. Helson, get in here. We barely have enough time to cover you. All right. Helson, folks. Helson also joins us from Baldur's Gate 3. He's a member of the Absolute Adversaries. They have Halsin and Minthara in the same slot for lore reasons, because as the game was initially intended, you were only supposed to have one or the other in the party. There is a way you can apparently get both of them, and they've left it. But the idea was you one or the other. You're making a decision. Male Wood Elf, Druid, neutral good, healing support, and speed. Thorn Whip is their base attack. Halsin attacks the enemy with the most health for 1 hit and pulls them closer to the party if they can be moved. Ultimate attack, Bear Form. Halsin transforms into a bear for 20 seconds, and his base attack changes to Bear Strike. It's a bare-handed attack, folks. He moves up to the enemy with the most health and swipes at all nearby foes for 1 ultimate hit each. So ultimate base damage when he's attacking bare-handed. Which is great for, again, situations like this where you have an armored enemy. Halsin in the bear form can attack and help you kill them off. The Beholder is annoying. We're probably not going to beat that at the moment, but that's fine. All right, base attacks or base abilities. Archdruid of Emerald Grove. Halsin gains a harmony stack for each good champion in the formation. Minthara, evil formations. Halsin, good formations. You wouldn't want to use them together anyway. Right? Halsin increases the damage of these champions by a bunch. Remember, for each harmony stack stacking multiplicatively. Because it's a bunch and not 100%, that makes this mathematically overpowered. This is a pre-stack. The items are affecting this pre-stack. Yes, please. So with Minthara, it was a debuff. For Halsin, it's a buff. Right? Call to action. This is the speed effect. In non-boss areas, every time the area quest progresses, that's your progression thing up here at the top, there's a chance that you will just immediately complete the quest and move to the next area. The maximum chance is a number that has been modified by itemization. If the quest is, when it goes over 100%, basically your... this is difficult to explain. This just means that at lower values, like when you're taking what we've got, 1 item, there's a higher chance that it could trigger the change. This is the maximum chance is literally 100%. This one shouldn't go over. If the quest is 1 away from being completed, but is greatly reduced based on the number of quest items left to collect or enemies left to defeat. So by saying it's 586 with 1 left, like with one left is kind of pointless, because if there's one left and you collect that one, you're changing areas anyway. It really should have been tuned off of 2 left, because at least then you'd be getting something. At least then you'd be getting something, right? The chance to immediately complete the current area, so at my itemization currently, is 100% for 2 items left. Well, thanks. Because, yeah, thanks, whatever. And only 65% for 3 items left. Paulson is item level hungry. He is a speed champion. He is not a speed champion I would recommend investing in. Until you're like end game and you've got just more bounty contracts and you don't really care. And you just want to maximize stuff. Yeah. Because look, I've got a lot of item levels. I have 1,500 item levels on this item. The cap is 21,632. I have 1,500 item levels in, which is a pretty heavy investment. That's a late game investment. Not an in-game investment, but it's a late game investment. And I'm only at 100% chance when I'm down to 2 items left. So I gotta kill all the way down until there's 2 items left. And I'll skip that. That's 1 kill away. Like, who cares? It was just really poorly tuned, folks. Nature's Revival. This is the heal. Halson heals champions affected by Archdruid of the Emerald Grove. So good champions. So Halson's only going to heal good champions. Vow of Harmony. This is another one of those stacks like Minthara had, right? Halson provides benefits based on the number of Harmony stacks he has. So Nurturing at 3. The effect of Nature's Revival is increased by 20% for each Harmony stack he has. So the healing effect. Hurrying at 5. The effect of Call to Action is increased by 50%. Recharging at 7. Again, this is kind of when he starts to come online. When a champion uses an ultimate, it recharges with 10% of the cooldown already done. Like, okay. 9 is where you want it. Growing increases the base value of Archdruid of Emerald Grove. Remember, the base value on a multiplicatively stacking ability, if you could boost that, that's what you want to do. So Halson's really at 9. 9 is where you want to get him. 9 and more. 7's okay if you need ultimates for things, but 9 is the big deal. Alright. Spec choices. Harbinger of the Wild, Sage of the Transformed, Protector of the Grove. Harbinger of the Wild, Archdruid of the Emerald Grove now grants Harmony stacks for neutral champions, so kind of the same way Minthara did. Alright. Sage of the Transformed means Halson increases the number of Ceramorphosis stacks the party has by 40%, rounded down. So, whereas Minthara just gives you 2 more tadpoles, Minthara, flat number, Halson is going to boost the percent based off the percent of party members, but is going to round down. Halson doesn't, if you haven't seen it yet, Halson doesn't have a tadpole. So, the most you can get this to currently is he can add 3. That's if 9 other people, there's 9 other tadpoles in the formation. Okay. Which brings him to, which would bring the party to 12, which is the same you could get with Minthara, because she could add 2 to a party that had 10. Right. So that's 8 people or more would get, 8 or 9 would get you 3. You 2 stars, 5. Right? 5, 6, 7. Okay. Protector of the Grove increases the effect of Archdruid of Emerald Grove by your maximum advance of call to action triggering. So this is a boost based off how much you've boosted the speed effect. Sure. Okay. You can go kind of anywhere here. This one is very item. This is for in-game people who have capped that out. Like, they can get at least a decent number. This is if you, but this might actually be, unlike with Minthara, this might actually be your best choice. This is only for absolute adversaries, heavy formations, because it's a percentage and not just flat 2. With Minthara, 2 could just be huge, even if you only had a couple. Not so much here. Okay. Let's look at the rest. Oh, that's it. He's pretty straightforward. That's right. Prepare to damage all champions' items. Archdruid of the Emerald Grove. Again, this is the pre-stack. Call to action. That's the speed effect. The healing. This is Nature's Revival. That's a healing. And then ultimate cooldown. Damage all champions. Feats. Emerald Grove feats. Call to action. Emerald Grove are the ones you want. Nature's are big Emerald Grove ones. Nature's Revival. Here's the healing component of Nurturing as a boost. So it gets really specific. Cooldown reduction of the recharging component of Vow of Harmony. Okay. They get real in the weeds here. But maybe it'll work for you, right? And then Rampant Growth increases the bonus of the growing component. So that's the big one. That's the one you want. That's the major one. All right. Last one. Sergeant Knox. Knox, who's there? He is. He is, folks. Sergeant Knox comes to us from the Neverwinter the group, the game. Neverwinter Online, right? Is that the name of it? Along with like Makos and Celeste. Male human fighter, neutral good, tanking and support. Comes in at a 25 overwhelm. Base attack is Battle Axe. He swings his enormous Battle Axe through a random group of enemies, so just random on the screen. Ultimate attack, Break the Line. He swings his axe in an arc, knocking nearby enemies back, damaging and stunning them for 2 seconds. He then leaps at a random enemy and swings his axe in an overhead blow, dealing even more damage and stunning enemies in the area for 5 seconds. This is a thing you use more when you're near your wall. You're going to get a knockback of everybody and stun the whole group. And then another big hit and a 5-second stun in an AoE. Which is great when they're all piled up on a tank. Right? Rallying Cry is his base ability. Increases the damage of champions in all the columns behind him by an amount for each positional formation ability affecting them, stacking multiplicatively and including this one. So, this tells you 2 things. One, it tells you he wants to be in front of whoever you're buffing. Can't be in the same line as whoever your primary DPS is. 2, you want to build a formation that has lots of positional formation abilities if you have Sergeant Knox in your formation. Because he's gonna buff based off that. And it's the positional formation abilities affecting whoever your primary DPS is. Okay. Defense of Neverwinter. When Sergeant Knox is in the formation, Celeste and Makos become eligible for the current adventure no matter what. You can bring Celeste and Makos in. All right, now they are core champions and he is an event champion, so you might be going, huh? It's going to make sense in a bit. Squad leader. If they're in the formation, Sergeant Knox increases the effect of Celeste's Crusader's Mantle, that's her buffing ability, and Makos' specialization choice, which is either a buffing ability or a self-damage and gold find boost for Makos. And it's boosted by an amount affected by itemization. For each completed grand tour of the Sword Coast adventure, stacking multiplicatively. What? This is a multiplicatively stacking effect with a modifier to the pre-stack multiplier based on campaign completion that boosts 2 core champions buffs. It's solid. It's solid. It actually makes Celeste and Makos functional in a lot more stuff. Like, really solid options in more content than normally you would think for core champion. But it is based off completing Grand Tour of the Sword Coast adventures, not variants. Adventures. Okay. Remember, Grand Tour of the Sword Coast is a never-ending campaign, meaning they can keep adding adventures over time. They haven't in a while. They haven't in a long while. We just got a couple of variants, but those don't count. Hero of Neverwinter. This increases the health of all other champions by 25% of Sergeant Knox's max health. This is the health share. If affected by Celeste's mass cure wounds, so her heal, Sergeant Knox takes 25% less damage from all attacks, excluding an attack that would instantly kill him. So he gets survivability off of Celeste healing him. more so than just the heal itself, which is great. Spec choices. This gets spicy. Let's go to the right. Impromptu allies for the greater good and shield wall. Let's just talk about shield wall first. Shield wall increases the max health of Sergeant Nox by an amount that's affected by itemization. His base attack now taunts enemies he hits to target him. Like, not has a chance to, just taunts them. Okay? This is his survivability spec. And it is used... basically, if you're using Sergeant Nox with anyone other than Celeste and Makos, use shield wall. Shield wall. You need the survivability. You need that extra health. Go back to impromptu allies. The effect of Celeste's Crusader's Mantle is increased by an amount for each unaffiliated champion in the formation, stacking multiplicatively. Crusader's Mantle is the buff. So, if you have Celeste in your formation, and you have lots of unaffiliated champions in your formation, this could be it, because it's a big number, right? And it's pre-stack by itemization. So this makes this spec choice mathematically overpowered ability, right? For the greater good, Makos completes his quest to become a Lich and gains the undead tag. So this is a Makos DPS spec. Makos becomes undead. His damage is increased by a huge amount, affected by itemization, and his critical hit damage is also increased by a huge amount. So just turning him into a much beefier DPS. His base attack now targets up to 5 enemies at once, because he had a single target base attack, and he has a 20% higher chance to crit. So this is Makos DPS. This is Celeste buffing with lots of unaffiliated champions in the formation. And this is anything that doesn't have these two in it. Basically. For the greater good, and Sergeant Nox have reactivated something that a form of gold farming called Makos bombing that is off of Makos's gold find spec and using his ultimate to clear waves. That is now made that a viable way to farm gold throughout your history, throughout your progress through the game. Up there with Azaka farming as the other manipulative gold gaining thing. And alongside like dirty gold farming or bud farming, as some people bud gold farming, as some people put it. It has a difficulty. It is less difficult than Azaka farming, but more difficult than dirty gold farming. I'm not adding any of these in, but just know basically, Sergeant Nox changes Celeste and Makos and makes them more viable, which is neat. Master Defender as the next ability. Sergeant Nox keeps track of the highest number of enemies that have been attacking him at one time, and the highest number of enraged stacks there have been in the current area. The effective squad leader is buffed by 100% for each of this, stacking additively. So the longer you're on an area, the more he's going to buff. There is no cap. Because it's the highest number of enemies, right, which can be 100. But then enraged stacks can go on infinitely, so there is no cap here, but it does stack additively. And that's everything. Itemization, damage of all champions, squad leader, spec choices. That's the nice one, obviously. Rallying cry, master defender, and ultimate attack. Feat-wise, damage all champions, health. There will be overwhelm ones in here too. Rallying cry, squad leader, master defender, spec choices. Intelligence by 1 qualifies them for Strahd. Right. Okay. That's it, folks. We finished it. 6 champions. 6 champions is just too many to do in an hour. When they have anything that needs to stop and be talked about at all. All right, folks, we're gonna get out of here to a musical interlude for one of our rework champions. This is either for Nox or Stokey. I can't remember which. When we come back, we'll hit up the questions. We got 10 in the document so far. That's not bad. Yeah. Be right back, folks.
Here we go. went from cradle to the wall to see the foes of Neverwinter fall. When Valendra unleashed a scourge, he was there to perform the purge. From the bridges, gates, cliffs, and docks comes the legend known as Sergeant Knox. This former mercenary always retakes the city, unites us all with his only call. He's gonna knock you out, leave you seeing stars, gonna break your lies, leave you lasting scars. He's gonna knock you out, call the thunder down, gonna bring the hurt, driving death out of town. When the blessed of Saluna called, his answer echoed off the marble halls. If you're looking for a helping hand, keep an eye out for this giant man. Celeste will do the healing with Mako's damage dealing, and in the front on Knox is holding the line. He's gonna knock you out, leave you seeing stars, gonna break your lies, leave you lasting scars. He's gonna knock you out, call the thunder down, gonna bring the hurt, driving death out of town. Solo over this. Ow. Yeah. Gonna knock you out, leave you seeing scars, gonna break your life, leave you lasting scars. He's gonna knock you out, call the thunder down, gonna bring the hurt, driving death out of town. Gonna knock you out, gonna break your life. He's gonna knock you out, gonna bring the hurt, driving death out of town.
I just realized I totally forgot to park familiars on ultimates to try to get Voronika up to her Dark Lord form. That's my fault. We're close to the enemies though, so we should get there. We'll be fine. All right, folks, I'm gonna hit up the questions. Let me scour through these and see if we can find some things that are on topic first, and then I'll hit all the other off-topic stuff. There's a lot of off-topic stuff. Rough Rider asked, do these champions have cool new skins with their release rework that you could show off? I guess we're talking about like Nox. Nox has skins? I don't own them all. I don't own any of them, actually. But yeah, they got some neat skins. Stokey, I actually have a skin. I have Champion Stokey equipped. This is her base form. There's a Sharon one and an Autognome one. Those are neat. Voronika. Do I have any of Voronika's skins? Oh, I have Archdruid skin. There you go. That one's pretty. But I like her spooky. She's got a bunch of stuff. I don't know all the skins. I have the skins that I liked and bought or got from something, like maybe out of the Thayan Enclave or something, right? Or as an adventure reward. Yeah, but I am not a CNE employee, so I don't just get to hit a button and have everything on my account. I have to pay my own hard-earned cash. Yeah. What else? Anything else down here? Those don't cover that. Ryan M. Ridge asked, does Cass deserve the only healing pigment in the game? I don't think so, personally. But that's my decision. I would say no. Ultimately, you can put your pigments wherever you want. But there is only one healing pigment in the game, and it doubles the healing that the party receives. Not from the champion it's on, just in general. So, it is viable to put it on Nox. But at a double, it's not really that big of a deal, because we only have one. Its impact doesn't really matter very much. Once we get two, having them both in the same party is better because they don't stack additively, so they stack multiplicatively. So a double times a double is a 4x, right? So suddenly you've got a lot more healing, right? If we could get a lot more healing pigments in the game, I think this is why we don't have them. It could get a little big. Healing could get problematic. Because unlike what a lot of people think, well, if we just had realistic healing in the game, this game would be much better. We've been there. The game started that way. The game started with more healing than... so you could sit on a boss level. The boss couldn't kill you. But you couldn't kill it either, and it was horrible. Folks. It was horrible. So they changed it so that bosses could kill you. So that, you died. If you didn't have the damage, you die. Which meant healing came down. Which healing is solid in the early on, but then it starts to fall off, and that was on purpose. I think the bigger issue we have is that tanking is problematic, right? So if healing started to get a lot better, they'd have to make Enrage actually function correctly, where after a certain number of rage stacks from a boss, you're gonna die. But yeah, the boss rage stacks Gortys asked, didn't boss rage stacks fix that? No, they did not. They did not. There are people who have posted pictures of coming back with over thousands and thousands of rage stacks, and a boss that's all you see is their foot, because every time they enrage, they get bigger, and all you see on the screen is their foot, and and they're just still alive. So no, it didn't do it. It didn't change that. Yeah. So, but would Cass deserve it? And I put mine on Akira, I believe, because Orkira's healing actually also boosts her debuff, so I was double dipping. But that's me. You can put it wherever you want. Bellsman, yeah, I've got over 5,000 rage stacks on a boss. Yeah. It's ridiculous. Gamer Rico, is Sergeant Nox good with Artemis? I'm not an Artemis main. I don't use Artemis, generally speaking. I understand how Artemis works. I mean, rules as written, it sounds like he would boost positionals. The problem is, he's only giving one. I don't know. You're going to need to ask that in the official Discord. Because I'll be honest, I don't really... I understand how Artemis works. I don't like using him. And I don't believe he's only OP at late game and beyond. Early game, he's garbage, and there's just a lot better options out there, I think, than Artemis. So I don't follow the Artemis meta. So you'll have to hit that up. Again, on paper, if you don't have anybody else, he very well might be, because Artemis wants to observe positional formation abilities on other DPS, so he provides one. But are there better options in his seat? That's the thing. Probably. Massive. If I'm trying to do, well, it's going to depend. Actually, it's going to be very itemization dependent, because Artemis is very itemization dependent. So everyone in a formation with him also has to have certain item levels. So that's why I stay away from that. Massive. If I'm trying to do Minthara and an evil DPS, does Astarion work? Yes, because he's evil. Wait, right. Astarion works as a buffer, but not a DPS. But he's evil, so it would work in that formation. Alright, best going for Lae'zel. Lae'zel's also a buffer. She can be a DPS. But I don't know if you're asking me if Astarion DPS would work. He's not a DPS, so no. He's a support champion. But he would work in an evil formation as a support. Yeah, always remember you have to look at their role tags, which right here on the third row, like at the very bottom on the left, it says support and gold. All right. I'm going to hit up some general questions. A couple of these we're going to come back and talk on at the same time. MF Mellow Mike, what are the best things to spend gems on when you're just starting out? Well, right away you buy that the Mage Hand familiar, because it's only 250 gems. And if you have enough gems to buy another familiar at that moment, then buy it. But if you don't, then you start off with silver chests. You buy silver chests because they're only 50 gems. And if you have no gear, you need gear. You need something. So you buy silver chests until all of those starting champions you have green gear or better. Like the rarity is green or better. And then you start buying gold chests. And then you just buy lots and lots of gold chests. Now, if occasionally you tab over, like you haven't been spending them immediately when you get them, and you have enough for a familiar, buy the familiar. But familiars are not power. They're just quality of life. The gold chests are power, and you need to buy and open lots of gold chests. Not feats, not anything else. Gold chests. Mycroft Jones, the Saturday squad scavenges items, and Eric and Bobby do it in packs of 10. How do you end up with odd numbers of items? Sounds like a bug. Submit a ticket. Oh. Nothing to do with me. Rough Rider, what are your thoughts on our new chest vault? Okay. Here's the vault. Basically, the vault lets you buy packs of platinum chests for champions. For all the champions you have, right? Normally this isn't available, just that you can just go buy this. There is a workaround. So that if you run a time gate for a champion, then the shop will trigger the option to buy chests like this. But what they did with the vault is they were like, hey, here's a chance to go buy chests, platinum chests, which are the OP chests. Platinum chests for any champion you want. Yeah. And they paired it with this fronting of these item levels, which is great. I can see what my item levels are on all my champions now, right? The key here is they're trying to let you know like that item levels are a big deal because they've never done that in this game. They've never really made it clear that item levels are a big deal, and they're trying to do that now. And they are. Item levels are a very big deal. And they're also trying to show you just how big of a deal these new platinum chests are, because I feel like that went a little under the radar for a lot of people. A lot of people just complained about this system and didn't realize these are huge. So the estimated item levels contained, because I have all the gear, anywhere from 400 to 700 just out of 6 chests, folks. Out of 6 chests. This is enormous. Now this is total item levels, not average item levels. You divide this by, well, 6 if you hadn't capped your slot 6 yet. 5 otherwise, right? And as you buy the bigger pack, look, that went up to 1,000 to 1,500, 2,000, 3,000, 7,000. Yeah. So they're trying to really show off how strong item levels are and give people a chance to spend on item levels if they want. Spend some of that platinum you've been earning by logging in daily, right? My hope for the future is that this isn't what I was expecting, but I get it. Not the worst idea. My hope for the future is for a wild offer vault to open, and it literally would list off every wild offer that you didn't already own. Because waiting for good wild offers, like wild offers that you want, that have things that you want in them, I should say, with the amount of wild items that are now in the wild offer pool, it feels impossible for newer players. So giving people the ability to buy something that they want out of a wild offer pool seems amazing. Make that kind of vault. Yeah. And I mean, maybe you break it down into smaller chunks. Maybe it's wild offer familiars. Maybe it's a familiar vault, and it's all the familiars that are no longer able to be just straight up purchased. Maybe it's a golden epic vault. Like, they could do things like that. I would like to see that in the future. They did say that that's something that they would look into. Is that part of the idea of this is that they're going to do different things in the vault, but they started with item levels because they dropped it at a time when they were fronting item levels. They're trying to show off item levels. Ken Ravip, long time no see. Yeah, welcome back. So many changes lately. I have 3 questions. Havelush is still a thing? No. They nerfed Havilar's ultimate, so it doesn't stack infinitely anymore. It only stacks a certain number of times and then stops. Can we supercharge all parts of the Modest core yet? No, they'll never. I mean, until they haven't changed how cores work at all. So there are Kappa Briv's Unnatural Haste. No, there's not. In fact, there are 2 new feats for Briv. There's a 9 jump feat, and then there's a what I call a modular feat. It's a rounding down feat, so you can like I have a 7 jump Briv now, and I slot that feat, and he stays at 7, even if I'm a slightly over 7, he would stay at 8. I wouldn't need it at 9. You could if you didn't want to buy the 9 jump, but then when you get to 10, then you'd need the 9 jump because you wouldn't want to round down to 10. Like they've added more support for Briv jump farming, but they didn't cap anything. Also, please plug your creator code. You deserve it. I'm not supposed to on these shows, but you asked, so I'm blaming you if I get in trouble. I have a creator code over on the Epic Game Store, so if you play on Epic Games, you can put my name in. It's just my name, Gaarawarr. And that supports me. Doesn't take any money away from what CNE gets. It doesn't cost you any more money. Great. 85 Hawk. Do you get silver champion chests for every 100 levels you've gone in a champion's free plays and variants? I'm reading this. I feel like you're misunderstanding some things. Because you're like, does that work for time gates too? That's only in time gates. Not in events. And not for evergreens. On their unlock adventures. Like that's the variant. Like you don't even get a free play for that. So no, that is a time gate thing. For every 100 areas high water mark, you go in a time gate. Like if you go to 104 and then you reset and you go to 100 again, the first time you get a silver chest. The second time you don't, because you've already there. This is a time gate thing. Time gates and events are not the same things. So this is a functionality of just time gates. You can get to area 2500, so technically you could get 25 base. There is a like a patron perk out there that gives you a chance to get double chests. So the highest potential you could get right now, going to area 2500 in a time gate, is 50, but you'd have to get that coin flip in your favor every time. Yeah. Yeah. That's just a time gate thing. I don't worry about it too much because it's silver chests. If they'd done it with, if they'd given you the ability to earn, if instead of that coin flip for double chests, it had been a coin flip to get a gold chest, I'd go deep. I'd go as far as I could every time I'd open a time gate for gold chests, right? Like, it would make more sense, but it's silver chests, which, whatever. Yeah, the time it takes to do that is like, I can get more item levels doing my Briv gem farm at a late game, which is the only time you'd be trying to push past 2000, right? Okay. What else we got? Who am I picking in the Super Bowl? Rough Rider wants to know. I mean, I'm a Taylor Swift fan, so I'm going with the team she owns, which is the Chiefs. I'm just trying to make people angry. No, but I don't care. I don't follow football. So if I have to choose, I'm choosing for the team Taylor Swift's rooting for. America's team, the Chiefs. Kirathi, who do you recommend for an early game DPS champ? I think this was in response to me saying Artemis is not an early game DPS. He's not. He's garbage in the early and the mid game. He's garbage until you could put over 1,000 item levels on him and hundreds of item levels on the rest of the people that are supporting him. This is proven. I've proven this. have compared, straight up compared equal item levels below 1,000 Artemis to other DPS, and other DPS out, so many other DPS outshine him. Like half the DPS in the game are better than him at the same item levels until he hits about 1,000 on a golden flute. Oh, tired. So tired. Who's the early game? When you're brand new, Jarlaxle is your DPS. But then, hey, it depends on who you've picked up in events and time gates. There's all kinds of functional DPS. If you have Makos and Sergeant Nox, Makos is great because Sergeant Nox boosts him. If you've got like Karlach or Birdsong, I think is Birdsong coming up at the next event? He is. Birdsong and Grand Rebel. So is Karlach. Both of them are great early game DPS. Both early game, mid game, and late game DPS. They're solid. There's lots of options. You can make most people functional, and most people more functional at Artemis for the same item level investment. Yeah. Strider, I don't understand what that statement is. That doesn't make sense to me. But I have done this. If you're talking about it's only because I'm using Artemis wrong. No. I literally went in and used meta formations that everybody that the Discord posted about. I demonstrated them on stream for equal item levels. Other champions are better. And the early game, mid game, it's really about a function of item levels. And early and mid game, you just don't have the item. Belswin, did you talk about the new capstone variant? I did not. Any advice? Spreadsheet. The new capstone and Icewind Dale is a spreadsheet variant. It's what I call a spreadsheet variant. Xerophon's Yithrin Zenith XYZ. Champions can't be removed. It's one of those. But every 50 areas, a random champion that matches the highest number of Xerophon specialization choices removed from the formation and can't be used again. So you have to go through and figure out how you're going to do that every time. And specialization choices are based off all these stat modifiers. And you're going to have to go through and do some work if you want to make it easy. You can just wing it. And it'll be fully random. But ultimately, you can take the power out of it. Like you can take the power away from the variant and have it remove exactly who you want. It's just going to take some work. I'm going to work on it on Monday on my stream over Twitch TV/Gaarawarr. There. I'm going to work on that on Monday. I didn't want to do it last week because I was trying to do all the others. You got to do all the others, and I didn't want to try to rush through it at the end of the stream. So we're going to do that on Monday. I'm going to do the spreadsheet version of it. You can wing it if you want. Up to you. Rough Rider, what is disenchanted equipment? I don't know what that is even related to, Rough Rider. What are you even? I don't even know what that is. So if you could tell me what that is, I don't know that I've disenchanted equipment. I don't know that I've heard of that term. Bottom of the vault chest page? I don't see anything there. Oh, exact amount of vary based on existing equipment and the rarity of any disenchanted equipment. Oh, so now I instantly know what they're talking about. So when you what they're trying to do is explain what's happening with the duplicate item card. So you already have an epic of an item, and out of a chest you get another epic. What happens is they disenchant it. They're saying that their term for this is they disenchant it and turn it into item levels that then go on to that item you already have. They're just trying to explain what's happening. They're trying to explain how you're getting duplicate item level. Gamarico, do you know when the other Saturday morning champs are coming? We don't. They've been rolling them out over time. Ryan M. Witch, how many item levels do you have in Halson now? I'm going for the cap of speed. I don't think that's a great idea, but you can do whatever you want with your item levels, with your blacksmithing contracts. I had like, what, 1,500 on his speed? Yeah, 1,500 on his speed item. I'm not putting anything into him. Last two questions that I have here are related. Mystery Games asks, what's your first impressions of Calyx? And Tamui, have you read that new champion spotlight? If not, could you go over it? Yeah, we were saving this for the last. We're saving this for last. Hold on, let me make sure. Anything else specifically about? Okay. Let me pop this up. The next champion coming to Idle Champions, Calyx. Calyx, the Thrycreen. Apparently Mars. This is Mars designed this character, is what I heard online. But you know, I haven't heard it from Mars. I guess we'll find out. Calyx, the Thrycreen. Look at this big buggy boy. Seat 5 champion. Male Thrycreen Ranger, 16 years of age. He's just a teenager, which means he's going to fit in that Saturday morning squad, right? Lawful Evil support. Pure support. Nothing else. Patron eligibility right out of the box is Mert, Vajra, Strahd, and Elminster. We're missing Zariel, but if I recall, they have a feat that's going to qualify for them for Zariel. Okay. Oh, there you go. Mars said, I didn't decide species class alignment, but I named him and wrote his backstory. Yeah, because species class alignment is something that the designers do to fill in things we're missing in the game. But Mars then named him, wrote the backstory, contributed ability design, that kind of stuff. Yeah. What they do with CNE originals, and Calyx is a CNE original, is they try to fill gaps in things. Like, so a species we don't have, an alignment in that seat that helps flesh that seat out, and a class that we need more of, right? Those kinds of things are separate, and then they come in and then they have to design, like, who is this champion and what do they do? Yeah, who's your daddy and what do they do? Basic attack is Chakcha. I don't speak Thrycreen. Range attack, they throw something at the closest enemy, hitting it once. They have an interesting passive. They have a passive that has an item support. We've never had this, ever. Thrycreen telepathy. While Calyx is in the front column of any party. Remember, we've got like 4 parties in the game max now. Your active party's damage, so the one you're looking at, is increased by 100%. That doesn't mean they have to be in it. They could be in a background party in the front column, and your active party's damage goes up by 100%, and it has itemization. Gotchkas are throwing stars. Okay. Why didn't they say that? This means this ability affects your active party even if Calyx is not in your active party, as long as they're in the frontmost column of their party. We now have an ability. This is the first buffing ability that buffs your active party, even if the champion isn't in it. Now, we have another similar thing from Fen, where she boosts the amount of patron challenge progress you get as long as she's in any party, and you get that credit across all parties. But this is different. This is a damage buff. No matter where Calyx is, as long as they're in the front column of another party, they're buffing whatever party you're currently looking at. Okay. We'll see how well this works. If it works. We're hoping this works. Operation abilities, Mind Link. Calyx telepathically increases the damage of all champions not adjacent to them. That's fine. We have this non-adjacent thing in a lot of champions. Unorthodox Alliance. Calyx gains an ally stack for each champion in the formation that is not a standard species. And then they define standard species. It increases the effect of Mind Link by 100% for each ally stack stacking multiplicatively. So this has the potential to be a pre-stack because it does have an item, but we won't know until he launches if it is pre-stack or not. Chameleon Carapace. Now remember, he wants to be in the front line of the party, right? But he's not a tank. He's pure support. Chameleon Carapace. Enemies that attempt to choose Calyx as a target do not, and instead choose to attack another champion, assuming another valid target exists. Normally, we have this ability on 2 champions, Turiel and Gale. Gale has it as a spec choice. They're both in the same seat. We now have 2 Jedi tank, and what we call anti-tanks or nega tanks that can 2 seats that can serve up nega tanks. They put the others in the same seat because they were like, we think it would break the game if we put them in different seats. We're getting one in a different seat. So hopefully they fixed whatever priority code does, because it says assuming another valid target, which makes you think if you have Calyx and Turiel up front, there isn't another valid target. They're both going to get beat on, right? Or Calyx and Gale with that spec, they're both going to get beat on, right? So there'd have to be, if you have 2 nega tanks in, there's still got to be a tank. And then it takes a 3 tank formation down to a single tank formation. And there's 2 supports in the front line who aren't getting hit. We're hoping that's the way they've coded it. They'd have to, right? The effect of Mind Link is increased by 100% each time this triggers, stacking multiplicatively up to 25 times and resetting when changing areas. Turiel does something similar. So this is kind of, they've taken a bit of Turiel and they've put it onto Calyx. They've taken a bit of Paulton and Dobb and they've put it onto Calyx. They've created a whole new thing here that gets into Ishii territory. Ishii is going to be the reworked champion in this next event, by the way. With non-standard species. Okay, down here to Deadliest Prey. Humanoids are Calyx's favorite foe. So he's a favored foe champion, too. All champions deal 400% additional damage against Calyx's favored foes. So he's going to fit. He's also going to fit in with all those Heroes of Baldur's Gate, as well as Commodore Crux and Vin Ursa, because of the whole favorite foe stuff. Okay. Spec choices. Oh, that wasn't on the, probably wasn't on the screen fully. It's fine. I was talking about it. Strength in numbers, creative camouflage, or 1 for you, 1 for me. Strength in numbers, the most represented species in your formation grants additional ally stacks for Unorthodox Alliance, even if it's not a standard species. That's neat. In case of a tie, champions from all tied species grant an additional ally stack. That's probably the build around, right? Creative camouflage, the maximum stacks of Chameleon Carapace are doubled. And 50% of the curse stacks are not reset when you change areas. That sounds neat. Right? So that means you can get to 50 stacks instead of 25, and it is multiplicatively stacking. And it does have item support. If it's pre-stack multiplier, that's going to be the big one, but we won't find out until it's released. 1 for you, 1 for me. Calyx gains the speed roll. What? we're just giving out rolls with spec choices now. All right. Each time a monster spawns that's not his favored foe, 1 or more favored foes simultaneously spawn. 1 or more? What's the max? The effect of the Deadliest Prey is also increased by 400%. So this is I'm creating extra enemies, and it's every time. This is actually a really strong speed effect. Every time an enemy spawns that isn't a humanoid, at least 1 humanoid will spawn. So this is doubling on non-humanoid areas. It's doubling the number of enemies spawning at the minimum. That's a lot. And you need a lot. Because what seed is 5? It's 5. But who's in seed 5? That's what I meant to ask. Briv. Briv's kind of huge, right? Briv's kind of huge. As a speed champion at a certain point. Briv needs items to become huge. Calyx is going to be big for people who don't have an itemized Briv. Calyx is now a slot 5 speed champion because there is no other speed champion in seed 5. There isn't one. I don't know what you're talking about. Xander's a nice support champion. He does not have a speed effect. I don't know what you tell. Don't tell. He's got a garbage speed effect. So we now have an option. If you're not going to do automated Briv gem farming, you have a seat 5 speed champion. It's Calyx. Which is neat. Ultimate. Githka Strike. Range. Calyx makes 5 attacks against random enemies, dealing ultimate damage and stunning them for 5 seconds, 2 days. Paralyzing poison. Cool. Itemization. Global DPS, so all champs damage. The telepathy, that's a passive. This is wild. Itemization for a passive ability. Mind Link, Unorthodox Alliance, a Chameleon Carapace, ultimate cooldown. But we don't know if it's pre-stack or post. Feats. They got them. They got a lot of feats. You can add, here's stuff I'm going to call it. You can add Celestial as a favorite foe. You can add Construct as a favorite foe. This is an event reward one, so tier 3 probably. Add Ooze as a favored foe. When it's rare, I say tier 3 because it's a rare feat. And then there's an event reward feat for Charisma, so that's if you want Calyx to work for Zerial, you're going to have to be able to complete tier 4. So that's, late game people and beyond. And there's going to be a theme pack with an 80% telepathy buff, which means we won't be able to get that. With the new exclusivity thing, we won't be able to get this for gems for 3 months. But they have the stuff you'd expect. Damage of all champions, Mind Link, Chameleon Carapace, Deadliest Prey, Unorthodox Alliance. Yeah. So what do I think? I think it's great that we're finally getting a speed champ other than Briv in Seat 5. And they've got a pretty solid speed effect. I feel like it's pretty solid. Obviously on an adventure that has lots of humanoids, it's not that solid, but like, Baby's first gem farm is Mad Wizard, and it's lots of non-humanoid stuff. So yeah, spam that stuff. Combine a Calyx with like a Lae'zel. That's nice. Lae'zel likes it when you spawn lots of extra enemies. So yeah, I think Calyx is neat. I think that passive, if it works, going to be interesting. How does it scale with the itemization? Don't know. And then we got to wait to see what we get out of like pre-stack, post-stack. We also have the augments. We know what the augments are. We're getting the gem boon again. We're getting the auto equip and auto blacksmith. So you're going to get automatically when you unlock a champion in the event, if they don't have gear, you're going to get common gear. And then every time you complete tier 2 or higher, you're going to get 100 item levels distributed across the champion. We love these. We love these in this house. I love these in this house. I want that stuff to be. I want auto equip and auto blacksmith to be base functionality of events. And then the worth the wait is back. Everybody hates it. I don't care. Champion Ishii will return as rework champion in the second week. So. Rough Rider asks, are we expecting an orc champion with Kalok's Unorthodox Alliance? I mean, I don't know. They've added stuff before and named things, and they haven't been in the game. Like, the Triton was in the game forever, and we never had a Triton, and now we have a feat for a Triton. We still don't have a Triton. I don't know. They may have just been covering their bases. It's fine. We'll find out in the future. Rough Rider will foreground party I had to figure out like field goal. Foreground party DPS go down while the background party with Kalos is going through a Modron reset. Yes, momentarily, but your instant damage doesn't matter as much as your Bud, generally speaking, and Bud's going to decay slowly over time, so it shouldn't be an issue as long as you're using fire breath potions, or I mean, most people do, but it wouldn't be down long enough to, I would think, super matter. If you wiped on a level, you just restart, they'd be back. I don't know. Doesn't seem like a big deal, but yeah, I mean, it should functionally, it should, yeah. I'm out of questions. I'm almost out of energy. It's burrito time. On Saturdays, I go in and get a burrito for lunch. And I'm looking forward to my burrito. This is the last stream of the week on this channel. You can tune in to more streams on this channel starting usually on Tuesdays. Oh, Vernika's alt unlocked. Awesome. Let's go. Hey, we can finally go talk about the rest of Waranika. So her base attack also gets blood-based damage. It lights on fire, takes damage for 5 seconds. Ice cream truck in my neighborhood. And I was like, well, then just start it up. Her ultimate now is a horrifying visage. She moves to the front of the party, magically damaging, pushing back all enemies. Any surviving enemies do reduced damage for 30 seconds. Here it is. Neat stuff. But yeah, she really comes online. She gets bigger. She gets a new outfit. Her stuff switches from additive to multiplicative. She gets much stronger. Much stronger. See? We went from 2 stacks up to, like, you know, huge bonuses instead of, well, it wasn't that big because we only had 2 stacks. But it is a bit big. I know, ice cream truck. Oh, look, it warmed up. It was in the 50s Fahrenheit here, and like suddenly people are like, it's time for ice cream trucks. Anyway, streams will resume on this channel on Tuesdays. I stream over on my channel Monday through Friday, twitch.tv/Gaarawarr. I'll put it here again. There you go. You click on my name and toss me a follow. Monday, I will be doing that XYZ variant, the capstone variant for Icewind Dale. I'll be trying to figure out, like, I think a spreadsheet will be the easiest way. If you really don't want it, you can just wing it and risk it for the biscuit. But if you want to know exactly what's going on in a spreadsheet, I'm gonna try to figure it out. I like that kind of stuff. So that's the way I like to do it. Also, so I stream Idle Champions on Mondays and Wednesdays. Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays lately I've been streaming Dragon Age the Veilguard. Come get, I gotta put this in chat because it's a wonderful pun. Come get Veilguard with us 3 days a week. I'm really enjoying it. I'm really enjoying the mechanics and everything, and I now have all of my companions unlocked, and yeah, fun. I like it. Yeah. That's everything. Thank you to all of you for asking the questions today and showing up. That's always nice. Thank you to Sasha for grabbing all the questions. I am out of here. The song we're going to go out on is the song for Stokey, the King of Rock, the other rework champion. Oh, we have one last question. What's happening with the upcoming spring celebration in February? Well, it's coming on Wednesday, on next week. I don't know. I don't remember what day. Just let's log in rewards, get free stuff. Enjoy. I will see you then. Bye, everybody.
I'm headed down the road to find the key of rock. You know this is my path, there ain't no way to stop. This is what I'm training for. Get up in every door. And if you block my way, I'm gonna make you stop. I'm not one for talk, but you can meet my fists. I throw a kick or two if you don't get the gist. Or I use my golden palm, and if that don't make you calm, you know my key explosions, well they never miss. Whoa, empty out your mind. Where the key of rock resides, no one will be left behind. When the key flows, it's gonna be our time to rock. Traveling the world from Waterdeep to fame. Underdog come here and I and Gaarawarr Bay. Teaching the even-handed way, making evil doers pay, keeping their own secret every single day. Whoa, empty out your mind. Where the Following my senses to embrace my destiny. The key of rock is unlocked, longing to be free. Oh, empty out your mind. Where the key of rock resides. No one will be left behind. When the key falls, it's gonna be our time to rock. Yeah.